right, good evening and welcome to Breaking Today, being the day that we observe the SABASABA Day, that is 7th of July. My name is Frederick Muitiriri. My sign language interpreter is Michael Maithia, and these are the highlights. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has launched a task force to hunt suspects of alleged police killings. Search for the new IEBC commissioners commenced in earnest as one panelist is disqualified for forging his degree certificate. And civil society groups across the country mark SABASABA Day amidst runway battles with police officers. All right, welcome to the broadcast. You can talk to us via SMS line, that is on 111 444 111. Again, that is on 111 444 111. We are also live on YouTube channel and Switch TV News. All right, we start with what is happening in the country, that is kidnappings. Now, the government has opened a special desk to investigate abductions and kidnappings that have lately become rampant in many parts of the country. Labour and Social Protection Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui has said his ministry is, in conjunction with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, have opened a special desk to investigate abductions, kidnappings and killings that have been noted to be on the rise. Speaking in Keturo, Baringo County, Chelugui has said the desk will help in investigating and reporting as a way of curbing the worrying trend. Cases of killings have been on the rise, with the recent case of being a female police officer who allegedly shot 2 police officers in the last 2 days.
In the last 1 week, in the last 2 months, those killings and loss of lives by children, government is coming up with a new approach and working together with the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. We will be setting up a desk to handle matters of children and issues of abduction, which is not affecting only children, but affecting also the adults. We've seen this in our cities. This is something that we must deal as a country.
All right, still on matter security, Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i has launched a task force to hunt suspects of alleged police killings at Rioma Police Station in Kisii County that happened 2 weeks ago. This comes after a convict died mysteriously in the hands of police officers, leading to a protest in which a 16-year-old girl was shot dead and 2 others sustained serious injuries. Now Robert Ouma is reporting. After landing in his home county at Rioma Field in Kisii County, a crowd gathered around to hear of the news that the Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i came bearing. His first stop after landing was Rioma Police Station to address the incident of the increased police brutality that has been on the rise in the area.
Hawa wamekuwa hapa wiki mzima. Wamechukua statements kutoka kwa watu mbalimbali. Ameniambia leo na tumekubaliana na yeye kufikia mwisho wa leo atakuwa amemaliza statement ya mwisho na atatupia ripoti, lakini tayari tumeanza kuchukua hatua. Kisii County Governor James Ongwae, who accompanied Dr. Fred Matiang'i, said that he will not sit and watch his county being brought down by any means and urged the public to work hand in hand with the police to achieve security.
Tumejenga na pesa yetu. Tulitaka watu waletwe hapa ambao watu watasaidia watu hapa. Hata hiyo title deed bado iko kwa jina yangu.
On the same breath, Inspector General of Police Hilary Mutyambai asked residents to forward their complaints concerning the mischievous police officers using the right channel, adding that they will work on their concerns.
Na nyinyi mtupatie support. Ile mtu mbaya ndani yenu, mtupatie information, sisi tutashughulikia. Lakini upande yetu ya kikosi ya polisi, sisi tutajipanga.
Robert Ouma, Switch TV News. All right, there was a hiccup as the IEBC interviews commenced today after one of the candidates seeking to be appointed as an IEBC commissioner was exposed for forging his university certificates. According to the selection panel chairperson Elizabeth Muli, Mohammed Abdallah withdrew earlier this morning despite being anticipated to be the first candidate for the interview. The interviews seek to replace former IEBC commissioners Rosalyn Akombe, Connie Nkatha, Paul Kurgat and Margaret Mwachanya, who resigned after 2017 general elections. Caroline Suma with that story.
The Independence Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC for 3 years was said to be lacking quorum of carrying out its functions. For IEBC to carry out its mandate, there are supposed to be a total of 7 commissioners. As it now, there are only 3. Abdi Gulie, Wafula Chebukati and Boya Molu. This comes after the resignation of Roslina Kombe, Connie Nkatha, Paul Kurgat and Margaret Mochanya after the 2017 general elections. Today marked the first day in search of the 4 commissioners to fill the existing gap. Mohamed Abdallah, who was scheduled to be the first candidate to sit before the selection panel, withdrew his candidature after his degree was declared forged. Dr. Abdirazak Arale, one of the 35 candidates before the panel, said with his commitment to a better Kenya, he will ensure elections in the country are free from devoid of ethnicity.
Do you feel that in this area of your expertism, you are able to correct what has not been done right at the IEBC, and how?
I think I would bring to IEBC an independent, free of any baggage, and transparent and accountable membership. And I believe with my commitment to a better Kenya, with my commitment to ensure that our elections do not become a Waterloo in every election.
Anne Mukali, a lawyer by profession, also eyeing the commissioner's seat, found it difficult answering most of the questions posed to her.
As a lawyer,
yes.
Is there, do you have a situation where your integrity was questioned? And how did you handle it?
My career.
Okay. Describe a situation where your integrity was challenged. If there's none, just say there's none.
Okay, my integrity was challenged in a situation where I handled a case for someone, and at the end of the day, I concluded the matter and successfully.
You have just a few months of the election, let's say 6 months of the election. Then information comes that the company or the firm that was tendered to print the ballots is associated with one of the political players in the country.
Yes.
What would you do?
Well, I would stand by the truth that the procurement procedures and the procurement laws of this country do not allow procuring services or materials from somebody who has interest, an interested party.
Tomorrow, candidates sitting before the panel are Caroline Nganga, Catherine Muchiri and Cecilia Ngoyoni. The interviews will run for the next 11 days. 3 candidates will be sitting before the 7-member selecting panel per day. Caroline Suma, Switch TV.
All right, now today marks the 31st SABASABA Day, which is normally marked on July 7th every year. This event commemorates the second liberation struggle in Kenya. Human rights defenders across the country, dressed in red T-shirts, red flags, took to the streets of Nairobi and other cities to protest against harsh economic times and youth unemployment and the full implementation of the 2010 Constitution. SABASABA Day was known to be marred with tear gas and on protesters and arrests. Today's march, not being any different, has been disrupted by police officers in plainclothes using tear gas canisters, with some youth getting arrested. Human rights groups and civil society organizations in country have for years picketed on SABASABA Day to advocate for respect of the Constitution and to end police brutality, and championing for a favorable legal and policy environment in Kenya. Politicians who have taken part in the protest before include Kenneth Matiba, Charles Rubia and Raila Odinga.
By the time we mooted the SABASABA revolution, Kenya's economy was collapsing, and an IMF program which required to overtax citizens, lay off workers, and stop salary refuse. Just like then, under the IMF's structural adjustment programs, Kenyans are now choked economically. Low wages, lack of jobs, skyrocketing prices of common goods and services, debt crisis, both at household and government levels. There is a suddening ballooning of national debt, while Kenyans have been turned into beggars, dependent on Shylocks and mobile loan applications owned by the political elite.
Then there's a lot in the history of the country where Kenyans have come up to now. Today we are speaking about almost 70 political parties that have been registered in this country.
All right, now celebrated gospel singer and minister Ruben Kigame has today announced his intentions of running for presidency ahead of next year's general elections. His promulgation comes after the cancellation of his physical launch by police officers, despite following COVID-19's protocols to the latter. Urging Kenyans to accord him support come 2022, Kigame has vowed to rebuild a new Kenya free from rampant impunity and promising zero tolerance for corruption. Kigame has asked Kenyans to hold on to hope, chanting his campaign slogan, Lipo Tumaini, laying emphasis on the limited opportunities available for a person living with disabilities. He has reiterated that the current leadership has made mockery of the struggles made by freedom fighters, promising to be the voice of the voiceless.
A Ruben Kigame government promises to reintroduce hope in the nation of Kenya, to bring hope for so many that are hopeless. A lot of persons living with disability cannot even go to school. It costs you 10 shillings or at most 20 shillings to buy a pen to read and write. It costs me and other blind children 100,000 to do the same, to write on paper like this. Does the government know? They don't know, because they are indifferent. A Ruben Kigame presidency hopes to prioritize those living with persons with disability, because I live with one myself. I actually hope that Kenyans for once can get so angry and elect a blind leader of their country. I'm hoping that we can make history and show everyone that it is possible to think and do different.
All right, you've been asking for change. That right there is the change that you need. Would you choose him? Would you elect him? Talk to us on 111 444 111. Now, moving on, the Council of Governors now says that only people who are vaccinated will be admitted in the 7th Devolution Conference. The COG chairperson, Martin Wambora, has also requested the national government to start setting aside a budget for the purchase of ARVs. David Kagina with more.
The Council of Governors has received the move by the National Treasury that has seen the complete disbursement of funds to counties with both hands.
I therefore wish to confirm that they approved the total equitable share of revenue amounting to Kenya shillings 316.5 billion allocated to county government for the financial year 2020-2021 is now fully disbursed. Additionally, conditional grants amounting to Kenya shillings, that's 8.3 billion, have been dispersed to the counties.
After the release of the funds, the CUG says among issues to be prioritized is the clearance of pending bills, payment of salaries for county staff, and the upscaling of the fight against COVID-19.
And we are also ensuring our stocks of medicine in the counties are replenished. And there is no excuse now, with all the funds which we have received now from the Treasury, we are able to pay all the debts of KEMSA, and they are going to replenish immediately.
The Council of Governors now says that only people who are vaccinated will be admitted in the 7th Devolution Conference slated for the 23rd to the 26th of August this year in Makwani County. The chairman of the Council of Governors, Martin Wambora, saying this decision is a means to curtail the spread of COVID-19.
We are now encouraging, first and foremost, vaccination of all the people who have been going to Makwani for the 7th Devolution Conference, so that you are not able to be admitted there if you have not been vaccinated.
The COG further urging that the Ministry of Health and the county governments should set aside a budget for the purchase of ARVs.
We have been relying too much on donated ARVs. We appreciate them, but we must now begin budgeting, both county government and also national government, for our own ARVs, because they are really critical.
David Kagina, Switch TV.
All right, from that story by David Kagina, we are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more in a short while. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. Now, moving on. In most cases, Kenyans are not aware of which toll number to call for aid in case of an emergency. Now, the first ever policy on emergency medical care has been launched to combat the existing gaps in emergency services to reduce morbidity and mortality rate to 50%. Our reporter Harry Chimea has more.
There is a definite gap in emergency care in the country due to lack of first aid training and untimely responses, especially when it comes to road accidents.
Some of the key issues that the industry and the country is struggling with today include shortage of ambulances, low standards, absence of regulation by the government and stakeholders, among others.
National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, estimates that 3,000 Kenyans die from road accidents every year. However, on a global perspective, statistics by World Health Organization (WHO) report between 3,000 and 13,000 Kenyans lose their lives in road traffic crashes every year.
As E-Plus being the market leader in pre-hospital care services, we have 130 ambulances equipped to international standards. We are committed to working with the Ministry of Health and its stakeholders in implementation of this policy.
Today, the first policy ever on emergency medical care aimed at achieving universal health care has been launched in the country.
The ministry has appointed a National Emergency Medical Care Steering Committee to serve for a period of 3 years to provide stewardship of the operationalization of the policy.
The policy aims to ensure proper emergency care services, including a standard toll number for anyone in need of ambulance services, accreditation and licensing of pre-health care service providers, registration and first aid training at all hospital levels in the country, mechanism for financing of emergency medical care, human resource development, strengthening surveillance, and providing medical leadership and governance.
The launch of the Kenya policy on emergency medical care is set to trickle down to the common mwananchi to enable them to access medical services and training for first aid in order to reduce mortality rate to 50%. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
All right, now to some sad news where Haitian President Jovenel Moïse has been shot dead by unidentified attackers in his private residence. According to country's interim prime minister, the nation's first lady Martine Moïse was also caught in the incident and has since been hospitalized after being shot. And as Daniel Kariuki reports, even before the assassination, Haiti had grown increasingly unstable under the late Moïse.
Haiti, the little-known island located between the Caribbean Sea and the North Atlantic Ocean, is today mourning the death of their president, Jovenel Moïse, who was shot dead by unidentified attackers in his private residence early Wednesday. Moïse, a banana exporter turned politician, faced fierce protest after taking office as president in 2017. This year, the opposition accused him of seeking to install a dictatorship by overstaying his mandate and becoming more authoritarian. He, however, denied those accusations. According to the country's interim Prime Minister Claude Joseph, 53-year-old First Lady Martine Moïse was also shot in the attack that took place around 1 a.m. local time and is receiving medical treatment. The assassination coincides with a wave of gang violence as armed groups continue battling with each other for control of the streets in recent months, turning many districts of the capital into no-go zones. The Haitian country of about 11 million people and one of the poorest nations in the Western Hemisphere has struggled to achieve stability since the fall of the Duvalier dictatorship in the 1986 and grapples with a series of coups and foreign interventions. Daniel Kariuki for Switch TV News.
Now, a state funeral for Zambia's founding president Kenneth Kaunda has taken place today amid ongoing controversy over his burial site. Kaunda's funeral arrangement became the subject of a court challenge after the Zambian government announced plans to inter the late nationalist at a presidential burial site in the capital Lusaka against the wishes of some of his relatives, as Lilian Minor now reports.
Kaunda's funeral arrangements became the subject of a court challenge after the Zambian government announced plans to inter the late nationalist at the presidential burial site in the capital Lusaka. This has been against the wishes of some of his relatives who have been contending that the late leader had expressed his wish to be buried next to his late wife Betty at his residence. Today, the funeral proceeded at the Embassy Park, a national memorial site with President Edgar Lungu in attendance. Kaunda died on June 17th, aged 97 years. He had been admitted at Minor Soko Military Hospital in Lusaka and was being treated for pneumonia. Kaunda enjoyed a 27-year reign as Zambia's first president and was revered for his struggle for the country's independence, which sought freedom from the white minority rule in the 1950s. Kaunda's casket was moved around the country so that members of the public will pay their last respects following the declaration of a 21-day period of national mourning. Although Zambia's copper-based economy did badly under his rule, Kaunda will be remembered more of a staunch African nationalist who stood up to white minority-ruled South Africa. It now remains uncertain if Kaunda's body will be exhumed after the state funeral and reburied in line with his wishes. Lillian Maina, Switch TV.
It's time for business. Now, textile and leather manufacturers in the country have been urged to embrace greener and cleaner energy sources so as to help reduce carbon dioxide emission that is eventually accelerating global warming. With the world setting its eyes on reduction of the greenhouse gas, fashion manufacturers and energy producers have been tipped to lead the line against global warming in embracing green energy sources. Our business reporter Brian Mwenda has more.
As the world moves towards greener and cleaner energy, the textile together with the leather manufacturers in the country are being urged to embrace the trend. Speaking during the launch of reports on sustainability in the fashion value chain in East Africa, Cabinet Secretary for Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development Betty Maina says that by using renewable energy, manufacturers will be at an advantage in accessing international fashion, value chain and funds.
Global brands and buyers in the textile and apparel and fashion industry have talked to us about the need of embracing cleaner supply chains and their preference for sustainable production practices that includes renewable energies.
With the initial cost for renewable sources seemingly proving to be expensive for micro, small and medium enterprises, the government has committed to work closely with manufacturers on adopting and sustainability.
So we've been working together with the Ministry of Energy to be able to give support to small and medium-term enterprises to conduct a lot of these audits and have processes that will lead them to be energy efficient and sustainable.
Already 80% of the energy produced by Kenya Electricity Generating Company KENGEN is from renewable sources such as geothermal and wind. Now, it is the role of every sector in the country to ensure that 50 years down the line, the globe and the world will be a cleaner, safer and cleaner place to be. Brian Mwenda, Switch TV.
Thank you, Brian. Now, affordable housing investment has gained popularity as a pillar of the President's Big Four plan, which was launched in December 2017 under Kenya's Affordable Housing Plan, AHP. The Affordable Housing Plan main aim is to provide decent and affordable housing to low and middle income households. Now, predicted to lead Africa's post-COVID-19 recovery in 2021, East Africa's real estate sector has the opportunity to reinvent itself and build the foundations for a more sustainable and inclusive future. This was revealed during the East Africa Property Summit 2021, which is a 5 days of curated and convenient experiences created exclusively for the region's real estate leaders. Of the past 18 months, the sector has seen development being driven by new demand and changing market dynamics across the sector. This has led to investment in logistics and light industrial to support e-commerce growth, data centers, and healthcare affordable housing, as well as residential community development, which prioritize space. All right, it's time for sports. Now, she may be 67 years old, but Joyce Nduku can't wait to lace up her runners for this year's Boston Marathon for the second time. Tata Nduku is popularly known for participating and completing various marathons throughout the world. She got involved in the sport at a late age, making her marathon debut in 2004. The impressive feat means Joyce, also known as the Marathon Granny, will have completed her 42 kilometers marathon in the Inspiration 125th edition of the Boston Marathon event. Our reporter Mohammed Isaac with the story of the Marathon Granny.
Known as Marathon Granny, a mother of two,
Joyce Nduku is one of Kenya's oldest women marathon runners.
Yeah.
While many of us continue to blatantly state our age as an excuse to execute physical activities, Joyce, hailing from the lush grasslands of Kitengela, has successfully